Hello, welcome to the Ludonarrative Dissidents live stream. This is for May of 2025. I'm here with James. Greg should be joining us shortly. I think he's just a little delayed, but we'll see. And when he does get here, we will. He did go to a regional con recently, and a Midwestern con. I forgot what it was called. And yeah, should be fun. But yeah, we'll do let's see, we can talk about a couple things. We can sorry, I'm just sending out notifications to Discords right now.
Yeah, we've where are we? I mean, we're actually, in terms of the podcast, we're reasonably ahead. We were supposed to be recording the Brindlewood Bay episode earlier this week, and my internet threw a shit fit. Apologies for the language, but it really did, and so we didn't do that.
Well, I to be fair, mea culpa, I screwed up earlier because I sent a review. I had a review copy from the publisher, and I sent it to James and Greg, the PDF of it. But I screwed up because I didn't think to check. Like I got it years ago, and I didn't think to check to see if there was an updated version. There is, and so yeah.
Not only that, the original version is 38 pages, and the new edition is expanded slightly to 168 pages. So
yeah, slight difference. Yeah, Brindlewood Bay. We should, fingers crossed, talk about it on record that episode on Monday, and that should be very fun. I obviously have good afternoon, Brian from Ottawa, and
Brian.
And I think one of the things that, I've run a system. I've run a 3-part game in the same system in public access, which is an analog horror thing. Here, I'll show you that real quick because we have time. Public access is interesting because it's based on the early 2000s and a public access television station called TV Odyssey, which the building itself literally disappeared, and that became a mystery. And so the meta mystery of the campaign of this game is finding these VHS tapes instead of the void mysteries of Brindlewood Bay. And as you solve mysteries throughout public access, you get more and more tapes to find out. And the ultimate mystery is finding out what happened to TV Odyssey and how that resolves. So obviously extremely my jam, and
very cool concept.
Yeah,
it's the whole idea of public access TV doesn't really exist, certainly in the UK, and I think in Europe as well. It's a kind of a uniquely American thing. My major exposure to it comes from Kentucky Route Zero, the quite brilliant point and click computer game adventures. Just to call them point and click adventures is to demean them. They are lyrical and wonderful and beautiful, but they did a couple of little standalones because it was released in 5 episodes, and the gaps between the episodes stretched and stretched as the series went on. So they would release these kind of intermissions, one of which is set in a local public access TV station, and it's quite, I assume it's still out there, but just in terms of atmosphere and sense of place and characterization, just a superlative piece of video game design, really beautifully done. I mean, the whole series is breathtaking.
I need to replay that.
Yeah, it's, I mean, almost every time I play it.
Yeah, because I actually have not. I played it when it was still not fully released, and so I need to go back and finish the game. So I need to reinstall that, but I'll just start over because might as well.
But I always forget that, in the bit underneath, spoilers, underneath the gas station, there's a crew of people and they're playing Dungeons and Dragons quite explicitly, and it's full of lovely little nods to the heritage of games and hobby games and fantasy games the whole way through. There's a quite breathtaking bit in the 3rd chapter about text adventures, about the magic of text adventures. I cried. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was so moved by not only what it was trying to do, but by what it achieved. I think one of, when the history, people are writing the histories, when the definitive history of video game culture, video games as a cultural form come through, I think Kentucky Route Zero should be writ large in it. It's quite lovely. I am just digressing madly.
Yeah. There's actually a book I read, a really excellent book, 50 Years of Text Games.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard that's really
a phenomenal
good.
book about the history of text games. And this is talking about the very first video games, because like the very first games were text games, obviously, because that's all they had. But they talk like, in Kentucky Route Zero, there's a big oblique, well, not oblique, very, if you know the history of Adventure and Zork, because those are based on real caves. And they talk about this in great detail in 50 Years of Text. But like, they have like maps of these text games. And what else? Let's see here. Why can't I close this? What is it? Okay, it just opens up. Okay, it opens anything, but it shows like the level of flow. There's a lot really good graphic design and sample code excerpts of this book. And then we have showing some of the photo from IBM press release of a student playing the Sumerian game by an IBM 1052 Model 3 terminal. When like 1953. Yeah.
Printing it on paper.
So
the Sumerian game. Is that I think that's Tower of Hanoi, but I could be wrong.
But it's I got it from the library, and so because I missed the Kickstarter for it, and I recommend actually getting the print copy if you can, because like I said, there's a lot of good graphic design in it and little excerpts in it. And it's a fun book to read. And it's really interesting that text games really peaked in the early 80s. And as soon as people got graphics, they're like, no, I don't want super complex games with the really, like, you have some of these text games that get so complex. Like one I remember is a Mind Forever Voyaging. Let's see, Forever Voyaging, which is have you heard of it?
Yes, amazing stuff. Just so really pushing the bounds of the medium and what you could do in like 48K of memory, which is that's 12 sheets of A4 paper typed close, but in 12-point type. Extraordinary vision of the media, what one can do with the medium of interactive content.
And it's this amazingly interesting sci-fi story where you're extrapolating, like you're going into simulation of a town to see how it progresses through time, and it has such depth to it, but it's all in this text interface. And games didn't really have this kind of depth once graphics became really a major part of video games, right? Like games got shallower but prettier. And I was reminded of the 50 Years of Text games when I started playing Baldur's Gate 3, because there's a lot, it's approaching this level of depth in Baldur's Gate 3 finally, but with a very good graphical interface, because like remember everything you do, and we'll have callbacks to certain things. Like it's interesting how game design, like it's not a straight line, right? Like games can get more complex, and then like because of something they become simpler, and then suddenly comes back. So it's not like games were primitive back then and are sophisticated now. It's like, well, not necessarily. It's
not really. I'm going to jump back in because I googled the Sumerian game. It's not Tower of Hanoi. It's not a classic game reinvented for a digital interface. It was created between 1964 and 1966 by a fourth grade teacher called Mabel Addis in the 1960s. Literally, the games are printing out on paper. It's essentially, it's a strategy video game of land and resource management, it says here. And was played in schools, was lost because computers changed and, languages changed, has been recreated and is available on Steam, I think. But just a piece of history, a fairly sophisticated Or let's just say there were no similar games at the time, analog or physical. To do that kind of thing, 30 rounds in the you're given information about the current population, acres of farmland, numbers of farmers, grain harvested that round and stored grain. Starts in 3500 BC and meant to represent seasons. I played something very like this on a 4K TRS-80 home computer. Well, it wasn't a home computer because it was at school in 1980 or 1981, and that was called Santa Paravia. A very similar game, and in fact, they've got the website has the Wikipedia page has a couple of graphics, and it looks like the TRS-80 version was trying to recreate those in incredibly blocky monotone colors. Wow, I had no idea. I'm gonna. It's a long Wikipedia page.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna sit and read it here now.
Yeah,
Free on Steam. Thank you. I will check that.
Yeah,
out.
but that's one of the recurring themes in 50 Years of Text games. That a lot of these early video games are just put together ad hoc by like regular school teachers or college students, and it was for fun to see what the computers could do. And at one point, one of the very first dungeon crawling games, I forgot which one, was put on one of these mainframes at a college or a library somewhere. And they I'm getting an echo from you, Greg, I think. Yeah.
Is it me? All right. Yep. Give me a sec. Hey, what's up?
All right.
Sorry to be late.
Not your roof, apparently.
How about now?
All right, I'm talking and hey, I don't hear myself. Great. So the end of my anecdote is like kids would break in or hide in the library or the school. I forgot what it was to stay so they could keep playing the game after hours. And when they'd be sneaking in pizzas and soda, so they'd have these little video game playing parties where they'd be playing this primitive dungeon crawling game. Because like this is back in the mid 70s when they were doing it, and they just got hooked on it. So, anyways, video games, they're weird and neat. Yeah. Especially the old one. Yeah.
Yes, but not like real games, which we're here to discuss.
Stolzy half hour. Oh no.
It's okay. So, Greg, you want to talk about a convention you just went to recently?
I just went to Forge Midwest. Which is it's a very odd. It's the opposite of Gen Con in like every way. Okay. It's very small. There were probably less than 50 people in attendance. I don't know. It is held in like a couple rooms, a couple conference rooms in a hotel in Madison. And I mean, someone said everyone smells like nice, and it's like, kinda. It does not. The bathroom's okay, because you don't have 10,000 people trying to use it, and it is not primarily a commercial enterprise. It is primarily a folk art enterprise. People show up. There are, nothing is scheduled. There are, there's a 2-hour session in the morning, 4-hour session in the afternoon, 4-hour session in the evening. If you want to run a game, you stand up and say, "Hi, my name is Greg Stolzy. I need one other player for $1 Million Soulmate," or if 2 people want to play it, then I can facilitate. It is a one-shot game of romantic uncertainty, where you have to play every scene in the most ambiguous way possible, because you won't know at the end until you throw dice whether the relationship is good and always was, or is bad and always was. And so people are just standing up and, people are like, "Hi, I'd like to do Lovecraft-esque, 4 or 5 people. Or I have this game that I'm working on and I want people to play test it. Come on down."
Nice.
And so yeah, there is no giant you don't have the thing where you have to be like poised over your keyboard to get a room, and you don't have to log into a website to sign up for a bunch of games ahead of time, and you just go and meet people and find a game that you are interested in, and you play that.
You mean there's not 6,000 things of tabletop RPGs like a certain other Midwestern convention?
There are not. So it is,
Wow.
and it's much cheaper. I mean, the
I
other
would
thing
hope
that
so, yeah.
happens, is that the room that it's the single conference room it's in. They're like, okay, on that side, people brought a bunch of board and card games. If you want something in between sessions, or just just want to grab one. On this side, we brought snacks and beers. And because there's free booze, there are no kids.
Nice. Cool.
So yes, I did not hear anybody asking about Dungeons and Dragons there. So, but it was a really fun time. It was right in the hotel, so if I got tired, as men my age sometimes do, I could just go up and take a nap. I mean, it wasn't top shelf booze, but it was pretty good. So
I mean, like, going to a small local con can be really refreshing, right? Like, if you're really burned out. Yeah. Was that your experience?
it
Greg?
was. It was like, oh yeah, this was what was fun about it all the time. And you know what? When you unplug it from the capitalism machine, suddenly it's like, oh, it actually turns out this can kind of work beautifully without cash changing hands.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I played a game called Memories of Tomorrow that I was very impressed with, and it's like, if I described it, it might not be, it might not communicate that, oh, this is next level, this is an evolution, because I don't think it's going to be the next Vampire the Masquerade,
Right.
or not even necessarily the next Bluebeard's Bride, but it is, from what I saw, it's well designed in a tight, cohesive way where the rules work really well and intuitively with one another. And the mechanics play into the themes and characterization very naturally. So, I mean, part of the game is, oh yeah, you don't call yourselves superheroes. You're just people with cosmic level psychic powers who save planets before they blow up. But all your powers are based on memory, or all your really good ones are anyway. So in order to activate them, you're often revealing something about your character, or playing into their dramatic backstory. So,
I mean, that's a really good way to frame a superhero RPG, especially like because they're so built on the continuity, right? And like having that as like the source of, mechanically and narratively, it's a really good way to structure a superhero game, I would think. So yeah, sounds cool.
I mean, if you were gonna do it based around DC heroes, it would be like, well, the core one is, what is the giant, crazy story about your parents? Because you've got Superman. Well, they were scientists on a dying world, and they're dead now. And if it's Bruce Wayne, we went to see Mask of Zorro, and they're dead now.
They're dead now. Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Does Flash in the comics? Does Guy Gardner in the comics? Do they have parental drama?
I mean, they have trauma for sure. I think that goes par for the course. But yeah, it's not all dead parents.
It's not the core of their being. It's not. I can't even remember who Wonder Woman's
She doesn't
parents
have
are. Is
parents.
Yeah.
she
She
actually?
was created.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
there was,
Yeah.
in the
And there's trauma in
in the
that as
comic
well.
Wonderella, which parodies Wonder Woman pretty often and directly, there was a kind of a throwaway villain called Psionica, and Wonderella and her sidekick meet Psionica, and they're like, wait, which one are you again? And she's like, I'm your nemesis, Psionica. And she's like, I think if you were my nemesis, I'd remember you. She's like, my powers of the mind are unparalleled. Okay, well, why don't you show the mind blast? And then everyone is wandering around going, oh God, who am I don't remember what just happened.
Aw.
And so then the next time they say, you're who again? She's just like, ugh. Then the twist, the gag later, when the cartoonist picks the webcomic up, like after a 5 or 6 year hiatus, the heroine's in therapy and her therapist is Psionica in disguise, but just has this great line about, so, okay, you're a superhero, so I assume you have parental trauma. I just write that in whenever I get a new superhero client. Well, I would
Safe bet.
say it's always parental trauma.
Aw.
You guys are the easiest.
Aw. Nice.
So-
Yeah. Speaking of conventions, the other one I should mention, and I'll put links to the actual Gen Con events, but here are the events I'm going to be doing involved with at Gen Con this year. So
Introduction to RPG podcasting.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that, it turns out.
Are you going to open it with, this is going to break your heart?
Oh, I'm not. No,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be nice.
I tell you what will not necessarily break your heart, but break Dennis Detwiller's heart is when probably the world's foremost RPG podcaster gives an amazingly over-the-top glowing review of your magnum opus and attributes it twice to
It's
John
the Tynes
Tynes.
Effect. You guys have
it's
heard
the
about the
Tynes
Tynes
Effect.
Effect,
It's-
right?
I only heard about it from I read
I
this
have-
thread
yeah.
on Blue Sky that you posted about it. Yeah,
This has been happening.
I've been
This has been
done that
happening
myself.
since the 90s, people. You want to know how deep this rabbit hole goes? When I worked on Unknown Armies first edition, any cool thing people loved about it, they'd be like, man, I love that part Tynes wrote about X. And half the time it was something really cool that Tynes had written about X. And half the time I'm like, that was mine, actually.
oh,
And then, people are like, oh man, Delta Green, that section Tynes did about about the Karatechia, and Scott Glancy's like, excuse me, Karatechia was mine. It just kept happening. Everyone. It happened with Feng Shui. People are like, oh yeah, Tynes wrote that really great scenario for Feng Shui, and they're like, no, that was Chris Pramas. And it's like gamers could remember one name in the early 2000s, and that name was John Tynes.
well,
I mean, I remember in the late 90s, if something had come from Pagan, it was a bunch of people automatically attributed it to John Tynes. And I am guilty of that myself before I got to know John well. And it's a weird thing. But when Quinns, who does the Quinns Quest, does this enormous review of Delta Green and Impossible Landscapes, and basically he gets Delta Green. Actually, he at no point does he say who created Delta Green or attributes the rule book to anyone, but he twice says that the author of Impossible Landscapes is John Tynes. And this thing's racking up.
But I mean,
I don't know how many hundreds of thousands.
Impossible Landscapes is great. A bunch of people are going to buy it. My guess is that, given the choice,
Here's the video we're talking about. Yeah.
If you gave Dennis the choice of, well, do you want to sell a bunch of copies or do you want to be correctly attributed as the author? He'd be like, ooh, that's a tough one. Let's sell a bunch of copies.
Mm-hmm.
A good point. A good point. I am enjoying Callum from Les Roulis. I almost interviewed Monty Cook, thinking he wrote L5R.
I mean, but
I want to know how many people are buying L5R, thinking that it's going to be a game in the style of the John Wick movies, not realizing that it's written by a guy whose name really is John Wick.
I'm curious what the effects of the John Wick movies have been on John Wick, the game designer. What if someone came up with an action movie? It's like, oh yeah, the new name in action is Ross Payton. I mean, would you be into it, Ross? Or you'd be like, yeah, he's just like me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting choice of voice for me. Yeah. All right. Okay. I see you.
That's how don't let him fool you, people. That's how he sounds off the air.
Okay. All right. I will say that reminds me, they put up a new Humble Bundle bundle of holding for Delta Green and Possible Landscape. Possible Landscapes, Delta Green, Agent's Handbook, Handler's Guide, Agent Dossiers, and the Handler's Screen. Everything you need to run the campaign. It's a brilliant campaign, and I love it. I ran on RPPR and it had a blast with it, but I don't know if it's definitely maybe run something else first. Get your feet, get a little grounding in Delta Green before you jump straight into Possible Landscapes. It is challenging to run.
It's
not
a starter.
Yeah, it definitely is not. Let's see where it is. Here we go. But to just briefly go over it, speaking of that, we are doing a Delta Green panel, me, Caleb, and Kenneth Hite. Delta Green Arc Dream Presents, where we're talking about the Delta Green and the Black Company RPG, I believe.
And how to properly attribute authorship.
Well, maybe by August the wound will be a little healed by then.
It'll scab right over.
Caleb and I are doing just one more role, writing mysteries for RPGs, because we've both written mysteries for RPGs. Should be fun. This is actually I'm not running this panel. This is Dan, who is RPPR cast member. He's also works in mental health and has.
Have I met Dan?
Dan McDowell. He has a very long black beard. We call him Fuzzy Dan. Probably at the RPPR meetups. So
I've never been to the RPPR.
But we'll record this.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll record this panel. And there's a lot of talk I know in mental health circles about using RPGs as a tool for therapy, and I think it's going to go into that a little bit. So,
which, I mean, I'm sorry. The thought that immediately came to me was I'm just picturing some poor therapist going, "Oh yeah, it was working so well. We were managing the bleed perfectly. It was a really good session, and then." The dice just fucked us, man. We were on the edge of a breakthrough. Next thing you know, series of
maybe use a game that doesn't use dice, then, or a quiet year or something.
Is it really a game without a randomizer? Say 10,000 grognards who've never played chess.
And then Caleb's going to be leading a panel on Red Market Second Edition. Yeah, the beta's out. On his Patreon, so check that out. I've had a blast with it. I think the rules are really singing right now. It's really good. I'm going to be doing a panel on action and horror in RPGs. I'm working on an action horror RPG right now called Labyrinth Signal.
The one we play.
Yes, and the actual play of that should be out, and the beta rules
hot
for
new
that.
therapy tool Jenga. I mean, I can honestly kind of see it.
Yeah,
it's. The ratcheting tension up, it gives you, as the tower gets worse, the person in therapy is like, okay, I know why I'm anxious because the tower is fragile. I have something onto which I can project my anxiety, this physical, tangible thing. And then when it finally, as it inevitably must, crashes down, I could see that could be a catharsis.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we'll record the panel and you can find out what Dan has to say about it. So and then finally I'm going to be doing a live episode of RPPR, and that'll be like our RPPR meetup, where after we get done talking, we'll break out games and beverages and have a good time. And see, the trick is to schedule a panel or event at late in the evening and try and make it to where you're the last event of the day in that room, and then you can just stay in that room until you get too tired to do anything else. So so if you want to hang out, that's the RPPR meetup. That's where we'll all be, and we always have a good time. And yeah, those are the events I'll be doing, and I'll be running around the con. We have a Discord for people interested in going to Gen Con to coordinate, eating together events. People are figuring out what games they want to do too.
See, you're almost making me want to go, Ross. I mean, it's far too late, of course.
Oh, you say that, but we can probably wrangle you a space if you can get here. We could probably find something for you, and you could get a press badge, Greg, with Ludonarrative Dissidents as a podcast. You could get a free press badge as that, because I got a free press badge through Role Playing Public Radio. So you'd have to.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's a lot. Yeah,
it's so many people.
It's a lot of people. Probably not as many this year. I think it's 10.
Yeah, I think the rest of the world are not showing up.
Okay. At the risk of being, controversial, rightly so. Mm-hmm. If I was from anywhere but the U.S., the last place I'd go right now is Gaza. But the second least place I'd go right now, well, okay, there are probably some worse ones. Yeah. Did the Cabo Bojador disputed zone ever get settled? But yeah, don't come to America. I'm sorry.
Yeah, James, what were you saying?
America, we don't have our shit together right now.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, before Gen Con, there is UK Games Expo on this side of the Atlantic at the end of this month, where I will be. I don't have anything like that impressive a list of panels, but I have a booth because I am launching Big Table, this trade body that I've been working on for the last few months. Big Table.
Do you have a page for that?
Bigtable.games is the Big Table page, which is just kind of a holding page at the moment. But we have a booth. Come and find us, come and chat. And if you are in any way in the industry or connected with the industry, Saturday evening in the Piazza Suites, we've got the big room, and we are doing an hour and a half on the impacts to the industry of tariffs, new EU regulations, and all the rest of that, and why we need a trade body. So, I mean, this is inside baseball stuff, and I'm not going to bore you with it here. But if you want to be bored by it, do come and chat at UK Games Expo, because
someone in the comments, Patchwork Fez says you're really in trouble if the therapist breaks out diplomacy, and I'm like, diplomacy doesn't fix mental health problems. Diplomacy creates mental health.
That's true. Well, that's really cool. I hope Big Table goes well at UK Game Expo. I think that's a very good idea. And one of those things, somebody should do that, and you're just like, I'll do it.
Man, so how does
that's kind of my role. I mean, that's how Dragon Meat happened. Literally, in 1999, a bunch of people in the London area who ran small role-playing companies. We had, I think about once a quarter, we would meet up in a pub and just kind of shoot the breeze. And at some point, someone said, why isn't there a role-playing event or a hobby games event in the London area anymore? And I thumped the table. I said, somebody should organize one. And everyone looked at me like, all right.
I mean,
so I chaired the first 3. It's 25 years later. It's still running. They're now doing 2 a year. Callum referenced briefly. There was one a few weeks ago. The second one, which was underattended because it was under-publicized, because it was a co-production with the Royal Borough of Kensington, Chelsea, which is not as grand as it sounds.
It's a royal borough.
Yeah, I could do 10 minutes on that. It's just a borough. It just happens to be called the Royal
I don't
Borough.
know, man.
Of
I
Kensington,
would
Chelsea.
be much more impressed by that than like, the mayoral borough of wherever the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am aware that we publicised this in the little publicity that we did for this evening. We said it would be an Ask Us
Oh,
Anything.
yeah.
So we should probably move on to that in a remaining short amount of time. Not that short. Does anyone have any questions that they've always wanted to ask either one or multiple of us? Or just questions about games, questions about games events, questions about something we might know about? Favorite Monty Python
No, not
character?
that. Rain Realities is
favorite Pink
on the
Floyd
way,
album?
but we do not have a firm date yet. We are just Hal is pushing on it and getting artists to do art.
Let's see here.
Before anyone asks about it, Hal and I want Realities out as much as anybody in the world.
I do see, just as a brief thing, we've talked about Jubin Shaw before, the Chinese murder mystery solving things.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a seminar here, and there's a bunch of sessions for it. But they are all like $46 to $54. So that's
in addition to
oh, here we go.
Favorite board game playing scene in a movie.
Ooh. I mean, the classic. Oh, I'm gonna be super like lame. I'm gonna just say Death and the Knight playing chess in the Seventh Seal. I'm gonna be that guy. Yeah.
You were raised by film people, right?
I literally, my parents did make me watch Bergman movies, including that movie when I was a kid, like when I was still in elementary school. They also had me watch Kurosawa and Fellini films.
Wow.
Yet you're not a superhero.
My parents are still around. They haven't been blown up by mutant.
You could have been Movie Man, Ross.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, maybe.
Let's see. Favorite board. I mean, can I just say all of Clue?
Okay. Well.
It's
a scene, not a movie. Yeah, we're looking for a scene, and that's not. There's no board game in it. It's a meta. Yeah.
I mean, Bernadette Peters saying flames at the side.
Oh, I love the movie. Yeah.
That scene is Bernadette Peters is good, and that's peak Peters.
Let's see here. I'm just gonna see if I can find some examples of it. Well, if we expand it to TV, we have the Parks and Rec Cones of Dunshire scene, which if you.
That is great. I'm going to jump in with one of the, for me, the great classics. Steve McQueen, Faye Dunaway, the Thomas Crown Affair, playing chess. Oh my God, that is the sexiest thing you will see. It's amazing. The Pierce Brosnan remake of Thomas Crown Affair, good but not as good. You need to go to the original. Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway playing chess.
All right, favorite TTRPG book product thing from the last year or so. Oh God, you got to make it hard. Shit, I got to look and see what I've gotten in the last year or so.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of things.
Outgunned is really interesting.
Yeah. We talked about that in
John Marin talked about it and sent us all review copies. He's like, don't sleep on this. He's like, it's got the juice.
Sorry, James.
Yeah. I was just saying, board games in movies. Somebody said Jumanji. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much all of them. And actually the one that's set in space, and I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, it starts with a Z. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the scene in Star Wars with Let the Wookiee Win, that's...
Oh, yeah. That's pretty good.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic. I'm just going to dive in with favorite thing from the last year or so. I don't actually know when it was originally released. So good, I gave it away because I gave it to a friend who I knew would love it. A British small press thing called Hieronymus, which is an OSR map crawler set in the works of Hieronymus Bosch. I think I've mentioned it before. It's glorious. It is just, as an object, it's beautiful. It's genuinely stunning.
If you
clever,
wanted to
witty,
elevate your OSR and make it look brainy as hell, The top 4 artists you could use for that are Hieronymus Bosch, Salvador Dali, even though his politics were bad, and Hieronymus Bosch.
I think this is the one you're talking about, James.
Oh
yeah,
God!
yeah.
Oh God!
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, that's very good. You know what? I'm gonna say it's literally the game I'm gonna be running in an hour or so. I'm running Fall Delta Green, and I got this at Gen Con last year, so where it just had come out. The Borlius Connection, which is a globe-trotting event campaign for the 1960s, like 1968, 1967, 1968, where it's the French Connection, but it's also globe-trotting, and you're fighting necromantic heroin traffickers. So it's very like. So far, like one of the highlights, and I've been posting this, the campaign actual play on our PPR actual play. One of the highlights of the campaign so far is the early on, you have to follow some guys as they're smuggling an evil occult artifact from Hong Kong to Los Angeles, and you have to follow them on the plane and tail them. You get to see who's going to be buying it, and so you can't just like grab the artifact and kill the smugglers. You have to and it's a trans-Pacific flight, which back in 1968 meant multiple stops. It takes over 100 hours to cross the ocean, as you have to stop in like Australia and Easter Island for refueling, and the pilots have to sleep, and so you have to spend a day in Easter Island, and of course weird occult things are happening as you're crossing over the Pacific Ocean, and you have to make sure the smugglers aren't gonna kill you, and like it's a great adventure, and like there's a lot of cool moments like that, and it's got that level of Pelgrim Press, Kenneth Heighton, Gareth Hanrahan writing. Hanrahan wrote most of it, so it's a super. So that's been my most recent. Like I got that at Gen Con last year, and I'm still almost done with it. We're almost. We got one op left, basically 1.5. So
all right, we've got a couple more. Any opinions on the Burning Wheel? I'd love an LND episode about that. I assume it's LND. I remember playing the Burning Wheel in a demo way back when it was new. When I was, at Gen Con checking out the Forge, and being very impressed by the way you could switch from, physical combat to, no, I'm just arguing to this guy, to, we're physically fighting, and I, succeed enough that I can talk sense to him and be like, look, man, if you keep up this, I'm going to have to hurt you really bad, and you don't want that, and honestly, I don't want it, but you want it less. And you can, switch from physical combat to that to... I think there was some third thing that I can't remember now, but and the way that it blended your role playing with the dice really well. And to be fair, that's Luke Crane, right? Am I remembering so Luke was running the demo, and you tend to get a good demo when the game designer, who's a good GM, is running the game he himself or she herself designed. This was also what happened with Memories of Tomorrow, the game I was impressed with at Forge Midwest. I'm like, okay, clearly the GM, who is also the game designer, is a skilled GM and is really into this thing because it's his thing, and he understands it front to back because he built it. But I mean, I can't hate on it for looking really great under optimized circumstances, right? So that's me on the Burning Wheel. James, Burning Wheel thoughts?
To be honest, I have no. I know it was shortlisted for the Diana Jones Award, so I know I've read it, and I don't have that many clear memories of it. I think there was just quite a lot of, this is not really to my taste, and I couldn't define exactly why. This is not my style of game. Sorry, that's all I'm coming up with.
I think I've played a game that uses that system, doesn't Mouse Guard?
Mouse Guard.
Yeah, I played Mouse Guard and I enjoyed Mouse Guard. But I've not actually played the original system, so I enjoyed Mouse Guard. I don't remember a whole lot about it, and the one time I played Mouse Guard, the guy who ran it, which was also at a regional con in St. Louis, he changed the setting to be, instead of fantasy, we were in Iraq during the Iraq War, and we were shooting up camel spiders with tiny little M16s, and I had fun, but like I knew what sit rep was, and so he thought I was a veteran. I was like, I don't. So tell me I'm going to use that tourniquet. I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry, because he was a veteran, and I'm like, I had fun, and but it was so my experience is not representative of the system.
Today I learned.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I need to play the actual like core system as intended.
I mean, when was the most recent one? What is the most recent edition?
Oh, it's out of print, and I don't think and Luke Green had this weird thing about not making the PDFs available for the longest time. I don't know if they are available now, but like he was like, it must be experienced in print, and was not making them available, which is
okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, cool. But right. We got another question.
Favorite crunchy tabletop role? Oh, wait.
Oh, I saw this one.
I saw a favorite crunchy tabletop role-playing game system and why. Which I can answer very quickly.
Sure.
It's it's Rain. Why? Because I wrote it, and so all the stuff about it makes a lot of sense to me. Everything in these mechanics just seems to be like really. So,
I'm gonna say Red Market Second Edition, because it really sings as a system, and like it's got the right level of crunch to like thematically represent what it's about. Every single charge, every single bounty you make really counts, and you really feel it. And it's crunch that doesn't weigh the game down. It's not like encumbrance rules or anything else. Everything's really interconnected, and so it's crunchy, but like it makes meaningful choices with it. So
everything that crunches, you will care about.
Yeah.
Every time you hear that crunch, you're gonna be like, "Oh, that sounded expensive."
James, do you have a favorite crunchy system?
Yeah. I'm going to go way back. On Guard from the 1970s, the GDW proto role-playing game. It shouldn't really work, particularly these days. It shouldn't really work, and yet you go through all these numbers and these charts, and it's kind of week by week, and there's not really many opportunities for role play, and yet the sense of being a musketeer in Renaissance or post-Renaissance Paris is palpable. Right. It shouldn't work, and it's just it's a game that deserves a lot more love these days than it's got. I think also for being an experimenting with what role play could be in the early
days. James, I think
very cool.
Everyone and everything in the world could use a little more love than it's getting right now. But so it goes.
Yes.
But
it's pure crunch. It's all about the numbers and the stats, and yet it transcends that. And I have an enormous fondness for it because it's been part of my experience of the hobby and hobby events in particular. Mm-hmm. People used to run it at, huge games of it at computer moderated, if such a thing can be possible, in the early 80s at Games Fair and stuff like that. So it's tied in with a lot of my formative memories of being part of the hobby rather than just being playing the games.
And it transitioned well to a play-by-mail version, which given the On Guard is one of those games I've thought about getting on and off. I'm just I'm really intrigued. I really should get a copy just to read, if nothing else.
Gazing into that abyss, going, well.
I mean, maybe play-by-mail needs to make a comeback.
Is this something that could consume my entire life? Maybe. Yeah,
maybe.
It's not that kind of, I mean, if you attempted to run a massive campaign of it, perhaps, but it's not a life-consuming game.
All right.
Really, it is well suited for play-by-mail, for thinking about for 1 hour a week, and then you're done.
Yeah.
That's
I would like to and speaking of like playing online, I'd like to hear your thoughts about virtual tabletops, online gaming, the implications of computer system RPGs. I've probably played the most online games.
I have not played many in-person games since COVID. The majority of my gaming has been online. And I like playing over Discord because I can be in a game group with a guy in Spain and people in Canada and then me. So yay. That's nice. Does it keep me from seeking out local gamers? Maybe a little bit. And if I was not, if I was not so deep in the nerd hole of gaming, certainly it would have prevented me more, if that makes sense. I mean, because this is my day job, I am hunting high and low for gamers and connecting to them frequently.
Yeah.
But yeah, virtual tabletop, I think it works. I think it's cool. Computer assisted gaming, I'm like, yes, but I feel what I foresee happening, the dark future that I oracularly predict, is that companies are going to jump on AI can do everything your GM can do, and you will have LLMs running RPGs, and it's going to suck, and it is going to ruin a lot of stuff for people who aren't dumb. I think the people who are too smart to fall for that trap are gonna wind up in the ditch on the bus with everyone else.
I do like virtual tabletops. I don't use them. I use them at a very basic level because I don't have the time to learn the more in the Lancer community, there's actually like the dedicated Patreons of people creating scripts for like Roll20 or Foundry, I think, to manage all the character powers and everything like that. And they're running these incredibly elaborate battles over virtual tabletops, and that looks super cool. And I wish I could do that, but I just don't have the time to learn all that stuff. For me, a virtual table, like, here's a map. This is the building. How do you want to get in to get your agents killed by monsters? I mean, find out what's going on in the building. It's very, very simple, but it's still very useful. Yeah, like having a web browser to pull up to screen share things, to explain things is super useful. And yeah, being able to play with anybody like that is willing to be up at the same time, is super good, and I really like it. So it's not for everyone. It's a different experience than being at the table and having that in-person like body language and sharing a space with someone, but it's a lot better than nothing, especially with the right players, especially like Impossible Landscapes. I did that entirely online because players, like most of them, lived out of state, they were, and so but it worked really well. But the computer assisted stuff is really tricky. It depends on how you're using it. Like the LLM GMing stuff is like Microsoft did this, like, oh, we got a AI to create Doom 2, and you go there and it's like, all right, here's a room. You turn around and you walk through the room. You turn around and now it's a different room. It's not saving a consistent like world state. It's just hallucinating things moment by moment. So it's not really a game. It's just it's
partaking in a machine's toxic super freak out.
Yeah, and so it's just not really. I don't think the computer assisted. I mean, if you can create like those augmented reality things that you can look on your phone and like pull up, that might be useful with QR codes to pull up reference documents, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know.
AI still hasn't beaten Pokemon White, right? It still hasn't beaten the earliest Pokemon game. I'm like, it's not nearly as smart as dumb people think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played some virtual tabletops, and like I think Monster Chef Alex said in the chat, it pulls me out of the game rather than immersing me in it. It feels like I'm playing a board game, and moving resources around on a map, which is not the sensation I get with figures, because I can play with figures and I've still got the imaginary version of the room in my mind, and I'm aware that there are, people have different levels to which they visualize stuff just day by day, let alone when they're playing games. But I am very much theater of the mind. I'm about the pictures and the scenes in my head. And a virtual tabletop, just for whatever reason, I don't get that. It nukes that sense of what I'm doing, what I'm playing, and the way the story is unfolding. So there may be a good VTT out there that would work for me. And I have a friend who works in on a role-playing game that exists entirely online. It's formally it is a tabletop RPG, but it is played entirely online. I don't believe it has a physical existence. And I'm trying to find out more and get a review copy because I think it would be really interesting to do an episode on. And I'm blanking on the name of it because it's a Friday evening and it's, you know, coming up on midnight here. Yeah, not far off. Clearly it works for some people, but it doesn't. And I'm not going to yuck on anyone else's yum, but it doesn't work for me.
Well, which sounds like the we've got Garen 168 biggest love the mechanic, but the game knows nothing for me moment. I hate to say Powered by the Apocalypse because I know Vince Baker and the Bakers seem like great people and it's a great company and it's clearly very beloved, but it never clicked for me the way that it is so clearly clicked for so many people. And as we've discussed, talking about Vincent's designs, I'm like, I think these are popular because they're really useful for people who didn't have English as their favorite class in high school and didn't get degrees in writing and literature and maybe go on to grad school in that. And that, yeah, if your legs are, no, I'm not going to make that comparison. I'm going to stop that one before it sneaks out of the mouth. But I don't think that I need something to do what Powered by the Apocalypse does. And because I haven't gotten really, experienced with it, from what I understand, if you're designing for it, there's a knack to designing for it. And that if you grasp it, if you really have a deep intuitive grasp of it, writing for it is, pretty easy and straightforward, and it self-corrects. If you don't have that knack, your playbooks will be whack. And this is true because it rhymes and everybody knows that's how you can tell if something's a fact. So James, you got a love the mechanic, game does nothing for me. I mean, I expect that you will, just because you have such because I've multiple times heard you say this isn't bad, it's just not my bag.
Yeah, it's not so much love the mechanic because I don't love the mechanic, but I love the structure of it, but it does nothing for me. And I've said this before. It's Vampire the Masquerade. I love the setup. I love being part of a clan. I love being this doomed creature that you're cursed or whatever it is. You have to work with people you don't particularly like against other people you like even less. There's the politics of it. There's the geography of it. That is fantastic and brilliant. The mechanics are, and the fact that you're vampires, I don't get it. Vampires as protagonists do not work for me. I'm not interested.
You should see Sinners. That'll give you a different perspective on vampires.
No spoilers.
Oh yeah, it's trying to get I've got family stuff going on. I can't get to the cinema at the moment. I want to see it on a bigger screen possible.
I should see that Monday when they're here tearing the roof off my house and replacing it. Thanks, Call.
I mean, for me, a game we've already reviewed would be that I like mechanically. It's not for me. Is Ars Magica, because again, I don't have a master's in medieval history, and my players certainly don't. And I love the idea of having group troop play where you play multiple characters and you have this shared base, and you also build spells. I'm really intrigued by those ideas, but the setting and also the Christianity versus and science and rationality versus magic as opposing forces just doesn't do anything for me thematically, as I mentioned in our episode. So
Wait,
but
what was the game? I missed when you said what.
Ars Magica.
Ars Magica. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that if there was a version that was more like, I don't know, Lovecraftian or even like postmodern or any other kind of theming, like I would really be into it. But
like Mage.
I played Mage and it's fine, but it's not. Mage is not Ars Magica. Like it is way different. Like you don't have that. Like
you still build your.
But
there's still
in my
assembly.
experience of playing in Mage is that your character has so few dots of magic that you can't really do much. Like you could do one thing really well, and maybe that's it. But like it seemed to be more free wielding and more fantastic in Ars Magica than
Ars Magica is a game with homework if you're a wizard.
Yeah.
If you're just a companion or a grog there to chew scenery, I think you can drop in.
Yeah. So let's see here. Well, we are now at an hour, so I guess we could do one last question real quick if there's one.
I think I just heard my wife getting home. So.
Okay, so yeah, maybe we should just wrap it up. Yeah,
I've got a surprise for.
Yeah.
Let me. I'll digress for a little bit, and then we'll do the last question.
Okay.
So, I sent her a photograph of a 2-person gas-powered post hole digger because the fence in back of our house blew down, and it's up to us to repair it. And so I sent that to her with the quote, today in choose the form of your destroyer. Sent back the appalled face emoji. But what she doesn't know is that my son and I have already used it. So the holes are all dug. And man, by the way, if you haven't done physical labor in a while, shit, it sucks. All right.
Last question. Have you watched or listened to the recent conversation between Matt Colville and Quinn's of Quinn's Quest?
Nope.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. And I like 4E D&D. Yeah.
They talk about 4Ed.
Yeah. And its accessibility compared to other editions of D&D, which I agree with. It's definitely more accessible. Because the powers were more clearly delineated and like what you could do and what everyone's role in the combat was. So yeah, I agree with that. But I haven't watched it. I mean I still haven't watched the Quinn's Quest video. I need to watch that. So like I'm woefully behind.
Landscapes one.
Yeah, I need to watch that. And I need to get on the Patreon.
Here's what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
you're gonna be watching it, and as he's saying, yes, Impossible Landscapes was written by, and you'll see his mouth go. And then it, clearly synced in with Audacity will be Dennis Detwiller.
Yeah, you can use that new auto dubbing version feature. But yeah, thank you. We can continue the discussion on our the Ludonarrative Discord, which you can find out about at ludonarrative.dissidents.com. And
it's a good Discord. I like that memes channel.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be recording Brindlewood Bay soon.
Are we on for Monday for that?
We are.
See, I thought we were going to do it today, and then I spaced out because I was out in the hot sun working.
Well, we'll see.
Digging fence holes.
Yeah.
So yes, hopefully Monday, James. Your Wi-Fi is clearly perky again.
Yeah.
Let me check for Monday. Yeah, Monday's looking good. John Cavallic's in town. That's about the only
Tell
thing
him
I have in my
said,
diary.
hey, I should be hanging out with him more because he lives in freaking Wisconsin. So
yeah, practically.
He lives in
I could drive to his house. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, you look forward to that. Eagerly look forward to that collaboration. But thank you all for watching, hanging out. We'll get this up on the our RSS feed on the public feed, so you all can listen to this. And we'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.